following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
It's time for Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. Angela and Howard talk about what's new in real estate and answer your buying and selling questions. To participate in today's show, call 222-TALK. That's 222-8255. And now, here are Angela and Howard.
Good morning, Northeast Florida. Man, am I excited today. There is so much happening here in the studio.
There's electricity in the air.
Electricity in the air. Yes, indeed.
Actually, I think it's Greg Harris in the air.
Greg Harris is in the air.
For our longtime listeners,
yes,
they know that Greg Harris has been here more than any other visitor here on the show.
Yes.
I'm a recidivist.
Yeah, a recidivist. Those big words here. Greg is the president of Watson Title Services of Northeast Florida.
Yes.
And he does more closings for us than anybody else.
Yes.
Thank you very much, because he does them better than anybody else. What an incredible staff of people you have working under you. What a great organization.
Well, thank you very much.
So I will tell you that we have a different deal closing that's not closing through y'all. And I talked about it on the air last week and said, man, do I wish this was at Watson Title Services, because we're not getting good service. I mean, it's when you want professional service and to know that the deal's going to happen and we're going to be taken care of, that's where I want to be. I want to be at Watson Title Services, period. Nowhere else.
Yes, the seller
we couldn't be there for you.
Yes,
yeah,
the seller had an attorney friend who sold him the house 25 years ago or whatever it was, and said, oh, he knows all my business, so he's going to get it done. Oh, my gosh. And the seller is out of town on an extended vacation, which makes it even more difficult. And it has been nothing but difficult.
Yes.
So, and we know you would have had it under control, and the closing has been delayed, and just it's not working as well as we would have had with the great counsel and advice with the Greg Harris and Watson Title Services team. So,
yes.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really proud of the team that we've been able to build over the course of the last few years. But you brought up a good point, and I've got some great competitors here in town, some great professionals that do great work. It'd be easier for me if that wasn't true. But regardless of, obviously, we'd love to close with everybody, but anybody that's going to close a piece of real estate, go with an individual or a company that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's their full-time job. There's been way too many changes. I know that's one of the great things about the program you have here is you're able to give buyers and sellers a fingertip feel for all the changes that are going on in the real estate business, not just locally, but there's regulatory changes. There's different ways, different supporting organizations are going to be able to help them get to the closing table. And if you're going to be closing with somebody, and this can happen, who only closes a couple of deals a month or goodness gracious, a few times a year, you're going to have some trouble. So as in most things in life that have a nice price tag on, go with a professional.
Yes.
Make sure that it's done right. That's going to make things smooth. It's going to be a happy experience. And, when you buy or sell a home, you're not always going to live there the rest of your life. In 3 years or 5 years, there might be another opportunity that comes up to want to buy or sell. And when you sell that home, you want to make sure that everything was done correctly a few years ago so you can go on to the next chapter.
Yes, exactly.
So welcome, Greg, and welcome all our listeners from Northeast Florida. We're your problem-solving realtors on the radio, and Greg is one of the people. Greg and Watson Title Services are some of the people that we have as part of our macro group of folks that help us be problem-solving realtors.
Yes.
Hey, this is a question and answer show, so folks can call in. Angela, what's the number to call?
222-TALK to me. You have to call.
That's right.
222-TALK, T-A-L-K, which is 8255, and that's area code 904.
That's right. So, everybody, the storm is past, although we're going to have a little bit of rain today, but that's okay. And people are buying houses, right? Because
oh my
even
gosh,
though it's going to rain
market's
today,
heated up again. Yes.
What's that thing you say, Angela?
What part?
When it rains.
Oh, if you like it in the rain, you're going to love it in the sunshine.
So,
Yes.
So if you're thinking about going out today and looking at houses, it's okay to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to have a couple of open houses today
We are.
that we're going to talk about later.
Yep.
But right now, we're going to talk about everything that's going on with, title insurance and closings. And, we started talking about the storm, and something happened as a result of the storm that, lots of people ask about when we write up a contract, and that's this thing called a survey, which is a plat, like a map
Right.
of the property. And they
Yes.
say, well, there was one done 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Why do we need another one? And there's a big thing that happened as a result of the storm that says, okay, why you need it. So, Greg, let's talk about that. So tell us.
There are lots of fun things you can find on surveys, especially old surveys compared to what's new. But one of the things with the storm, Jacksonville's my hometown.
Yeah, me too.
There are a few of us here and
Yep.
there. One of the great things about Jacksonville is we're blessed with a lot of trees, big, beautiful longleaf pine trees, live oaks, the slightly more irritating laurel oaks or water oaks, whatever you want to call them. They like to drop big branches on my car. But,
Oh, boy.
those fall. But when we get a big storm, and we've had a couple of nice storms here in the last few years after a long break, trees fall and they knock fences over. And that's when you can have the interesting eye-to-eye conversation with your neighbor. Who's going to fix the fence? Whose fence is that? And a lot of times a survey will tell you that. It's 2 feet on your property line. It's definitely yours. Is it right on that borderline? I've even seen people argue, well, which side is the flat side of the fence? Is that pointing to my house or your house? So I got the ugly side of the fence, so it must be yours. I don't know whether the ugly side of the fence would hold up in an argument, but people make it. But the survey is really good at helping people decide, hey, that fence that's been here for a while, is it yours or mine, and who's going to replace it? And it can be at least an entering part of the conversation.
Well, good. So, Angela, you had on both sides of your property, you had 2 pieces of fence fall.
Yes.
Not from trees, but just from wind. And the survey helped you to decide which fence belonged to which neighbor.
True.
So
True.
that's
Was
why
helpful.
one of the reasons that you get a survey.
Yes.
So
Yes.
And on the closing document or on the offer agreement, it says who is going to pay for the survey. And usually it is the seller that pays for that.
In this
because-
part of the country. It's done differently throughout the country,
It
about
is.
usual and customary.
And that's one of the reasons, by the way, that you need a realtor on your side so that you determine what expense goes on which side. Because if you take 2 novices that don't know what is common in that part of the country, you take two people that are trying to buy and sell without the aid of a realtor, you don't even know what expenses there are in buying or selling. Imagine trying to go to Greg, a title company, and say, okay, we want to buy and sell, and they don't even have a contract. Can you do that?
No.
Not well. Not well.
Real estate is kind of like dentistry. In theory, you can do it by yourself, but I wouldn't recommend it. In
Right.
the end, you're going to spend a lot more money repairing the damage you've done. But, I mean,
Good
you brought up
point.
a good point about the contracts and who pays for what. It's an uncomfortable experience as a settlement service provider when I get a buyer or seller come on and say, hey, can you explain who's paying for what because my realtor hasn't. Boy, that's we're happy to do it, but that can get scary.
Yeah, it
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Well, that's why you need a confident realtor on your side. And that's
Amen.
one of the things that we do, that Angela and I do every single time, is explain who pays for what. And some of those things are negotiable, but generally
Absolutely.
speaking, it is not dictated, because that's the wrong word.
Usual and customary
Usual
is the
and
word.
customary in
Yes.
this part of the country. And it
Yes.
even varies between here in Jacksonville and even in Nassau County can be different.
Oh,
And
yeah. They do it completely different than we do.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Greg here is on the show from Watson Title Services in Northeast Florida. We got many, many things to talk about. We welcome your questions. So call us at 222-8255. Greg will be here for the entire show to answer your questions. And stay with us, everyone. We will be right back. Hey, WBOB listeners, it's your realtor on the radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I don't just do the radio show, we are active realtors. When it's time to buy, we will interview you to determine your specific housing needs. Distance to work, style of home, school needs, distance to place of worship, kids' activities, lifestyles, number of bedrooms, budget, and so much more. In short, we do our very best to find you your perfect home. We won't waste your time showing you houses that don't fit your needs. Whether you're moving up, moving into your first home, or now an empty nester, you can trust us for the most important purchase of your life. It's what we do. It's what we'll do for you. Experience the Angela and Howard Team Advantage. Call us at 421-7950.
Is there something going wrong with your garage door or opener? My name is Peter, and I am the owner of Quality Door Service. And my basic garage door repair starts at just $125, and that includes parts. Included with your repair, I will instruct you about fire and safety, protection from hurricane and burglary, and maintenance on your garage door. Call me today at 588-4817. That's 588-4817. Angela and Howard did.
Are you buying a property being sold by HUD? As a buyer, you can select Watson Title Services of North Florida as your settlement agent. Avoid having to deal with out-of-town companies. And make sure you get the world-class customer service of Watson Title Services that Angela and Howard have come to expect. Call them at 461-3220 when you're looking at buying a HUD property to ensure your purchase goes through as smoothly as possible. That's 461-3220. Angela and Howard do.
There's finally a mortgage lender in Jacksonville that sees financing differently. With 20 years' experience, CMG Financial understands that the most important purchase in your life, your home, deserves the right mortgage. Tim McConnell at CMG Financial will work to customize the best financing option for you. Angela and I recommend CMG Financial to all our customers. Give Tim a call at 528-2103. That's 528-2103. CMG Financial is a registered trade name of CMG Mortgage, Inc., NMLS number 1820, and licensed as a mortgage lender servicer by the Office of Financial Regulation, number MLD 375, individual MLS number 181046.
This segment of Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard is brought to you by CMG Financial. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Welcome back, everybody. So excited to be here on this happy Saturday. You guys think it's a happy Saturday?
It's a great Saturday.
It's a great Saturday. It's raining out, but you know, I like the rain because the rain turns the grass green. I love that. It's great for real estate. I love the rain.
Okay. We just don't want 4 feet of rain like Houston got.
No. Definitely not that. We don't want any more hurricanes. I just want a little rain to keep the grass going. That's all I really want.
Hurricanes are gone for Jacksonville for the rest of the year. You heard it right here.
According to Howard.
That's right.
The world according to Howard.
I'm not wrong about hurricanes. Have you ever heard me be wrong about hurricanes?
Yes.
No.
The last one, yes. You said it wasn't coming here. Anyway, so today we're talking with Greg Harris of Watson Title Services, and we just did a thing about surveys. Gosh, there's more we could even do about surveys, but I don't know that we want the whole hour to be on surveys.
Exactly, I'm not a surveyor.
Because we could probably do that, because I'm sure that Howard and I, through our careers, have stories that we could tell from that as well.
I have a funny story about surveys. I got to tell this.
Okay.
People are going to love it.
Okay.
This was 2 years ago, one of the closings that you did for us, a neighbor across the street called the owner and said, someone is spying on my house. And she said, well, what do you mean?
Oh, I forgot that. Yeah, that's right.
Well, they said that someone has set up a camera across the street and is looking through the camera and is spying on my house.
Yeah.
And what it was, of course, was the fancy piece of survey equipment.
Yes.
So
That is a funny
I just
story.
thought that was hysterical.
A surveyor's transit. Oh, we've also had. Again, we could do a whole show on this.
Right.
I'm going to date myself by this reference, but the neighborhood Mrs. Kravitz was living next door, and she ran out, and the surveyor was trying to put in the survey stakes, and she went out there, ripped them out, and threw them in the woods. Which,
Why?
because she said the surveyor was wrong, and that was her property.
Oh,
Oh my!
that's crazy.
Somebody
Yeah.
called the JSO. It was words were exchanged. But, yeah, it's property. People get touchy.
Well,
People get
protective.
touchy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if she really thought it was her property, you can see that would be a valid concern.
And you do see that again. Why are surveys important? Is if somebody has been living in a place for 10, 15, 20 years, and let's say that fence 10 years ago was put in the wrong place, or there is no fence there, and they just always assumed that was their property. Well, the surveyor comes out and goes, well, ma'am, half of your koi pond belongs to your neighbor. And they've always thought that was their land.
Yeah.
Yeah, people can get touchy.
Yes,
And rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair.
I think the most interesting, I'm going to do one more survey thing and then I'll move on. But the most interesting one that I was involved with involved a view easement. And so it was where a house was being built next to some condominiums. And one of the neighbors from the condominiums declared a view easement. And so as my customer was building their house, they were building also a Florida room, which got into this view easement part. And the neighbor said, you have to stop. I have a view easement on your property because you're going to block my view of the lake that we're all sharing here. And sure enough, it had been recorded, but the attorney's office, the easement had been recorded, but it was years after those lots were plotted and whatever.
Right.
And so the attorney who was closing us, that was working with the builder, he missed it. His team missed it when they were pulling the survey and pulling all the easements and things. And so it was problematic. But that room, the Florida room, did not go up.
Yeah, that's an expensive mistake.
Yes, it was a very expensive mistake.
People like their views, like we saw a couple weeks after the hurricane. I don't know if y'all saw it off of St. Augustine Beach. Somebody decided to take a bulldozer to the sand dunes so they could have beach viewing from their house.
No.
Oh my!
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that wasn't a good move on their part.
No, not at all. Not at all.
St. Johns County frowns on you taking bulldozers to their sand dunes.
So let's talk about other things that Watson Title Services or anyone who's closing, but particularly I like your perspective on how you do business. So talk about all of the services that you provide that customers don't think about, whether they're the buyer or the seller. They don't really know what it is that you do that's so imperative to us getting to the closing table.
Right. I kind of use one of my favorite analogies. Is we're kind of the duck feet.
Yes.
When you're buying or selling a home, you're looking above the water. It's this beautiful duck that you have in front of you. You love this duck. If you're a buyer thinking about, well, what am I going to do with the landscaping? The house is in great condition. Maybe I'll, put in some new carpets. You're thinking about what the kids are going to do. Where's the school? What's my commute going to be like? You're already 2 months after you've moved in. And the seller's thinking about where they're going to next. Does the buyer really have the funding they're supposed to have? Is this going to close on time? And in the background, what we're doing is right when that contract starts, we do what's called ordering title, which we tell our underwriter, hey, there's a contract on 123 Elm Street, and we'll start looking back to create kind of inside baseball terminology here, a 30-year marketable title, which is basically we look at that property and the homeowner and look at any time that's been mentioned or used as a collateral and what type of liens or encumbrances are on there. And then, 5 to 7 working days, we'll get the title commitment back, which is us and our underwriter saying, hey, we're committed to writing an owner's title insurance policy at closing,
Right.
with the following exceptions. And that's when sometimes we're the bishop of the church of the hard truth, where we find things out. It's kind of humorous, but it's sad in a way too. We had an individual been living there for quite a long time selling the home. She'd been living there 20 years. She'd been married 25, but the property was in her name. But she's married, hadn't seen her husband in 10 years, didn't even know if he was alive. And that's when we got to tell people, hey, I know you thought you were closing, cash deal in a couple of days. We have a missing husband we need to find.
Yes.
And luckily it took a couple of weeks, but we got everything worked out. You can be purchasing a property that you thought the person owned outright. And they don't. They've got tax liens against it that can take some time to clear out. And so many times we have to tell people, hey, here are some things on title that need to be resolved, and we'll work with with everybody involved to get those cleared. But those can be those unpleasant, not so much a speed bump as a rumble strip on the way to the closing. Very, very rarely is there ever a barrier that can't be moved, a barrier you can't move around to get to the closing table. All it takes is patience and understanding, and a lot of that is our job, is to try to help the buyers and the sellers and the real estate professionals they're working with to say, hey, this is what we found. This is how we're going to help resolve it. Here's what we think is the time frame in order to resolve it. And people don't like hearing about delays or problems, but what we try to do is to find the best resolution possible to get there. And it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, depending upon the personalities involved, it can make a closing a little more of a challenge than it would be otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. We are working on one that's kind of complicated, actually. That I don't even know if you know about it. It's one that was part of a Marshall sale, and
well, tell everybody what a Marshall sale is.
Well, it was a foreclosure that was done in federal court
rather than local.
So it's called a Marshall sale, and there were 2 mortgages on it with the same company. And so only one of them got caught. The other one had been sold 3 times and now is with some other company because that company went bankrupt, whatever, closed. And so through the title process, we've discovered, hey, there's a second mortgage that wasn't paid off. So that mortgage has to actually be foreclosed. So on Friday, they opened up a case in the county that it's in and to foreclose that second mortgage so that we can close, because right now we can't. And the seller has gone through bankruptcy and, had their house foreclosed. And of course, they're not wanting to take ownership of knowing anything about that second mortgage. So it's been, an interesting process for tracking. And, your staff's been so helpful about calling everyone and trying to find out what needs to happen, when it needs to happen, who's taking care of it.
And you brought up a good point, and something that we're going to be dealing with for the foreseeable future is when everything went belly up, so to speak, in 2008 timeframe, last decade, there were a lot of mortgage companies that went bankrupt, and mortgages were sold to other companies at a bankruptcy sale, and they went bankrupt. And you can have these chains, and you have to account for every little connection and change to make sure that you can clear that off so it's not a problem in the future.
Right.
And, we're imperfect beings in a fallen world, so to speak, and people do make mistakes.
Yeah.
Well, we had a deal a couple of years ago that it was going to be a smooth, clean closing, and we'll get to it after the break.
No, we still got a minute left. You can finish your thought.
It was a mobile home, but when it was sold last in 2007, it was not sold as a mobile home.
Oh, gosh.
Could have been a big problem, because mobile homes, they have wheels, they have tongues, they have ends, they can move, and you have to close them differently than normal properties.
Well, there are 2 closings in a mobile home, right?
Yes, sir.
You have one for the structure itself, which is personal property.
Correct.
And then you have the land, right? So things that you think are simple sometimes are actually much more complicated. And that's why you need a professional on your side, not only professional realtors, but a professional title company to do it.
Yes.
And maybe not an attorney that does it, once every month, but you need somebody that does it full time, and that's what they do. And that's what Watson Title Services does. And we're going to talk more about that when we get right back. So stay with us, everybody.
Ed Dean, Mike Gallagher, Dennis Prager, The Savage Nation, Mark Levin, WBOB, AM 600 and FM 101.1. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. There is an opening in President Trump's cabinet. The nation's health secretary oversees a $1 trillion department. It has 80,000 workers and jurisdiction over major insurance programs, as well as advanced medical research, drug and food safety, public health, and disease prevention. The post is now vacant as Secretary of State, Secretary Tom Price was ousted after an outcry over his flying on costly private charters for official travel when cheaper travel was available. The president says his government is doing what he calls an incredible job against daunting odds in storm-ravaged Puerto Rico. San Juan's mayor disputes that, but the island's governor says the Trump administration has come through. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson meeting in Beijing with President Xi Jinping and other officials on trade, North Korea, and preparations for an anticipated visit by President Trump in November. More on these stories can be found at srnnews.com.
Hi, I'm Mark Kinder, owner and manager of Affordable Water. Affordable Water is the official water treatment company of the Home and Patio Show. We have been blessed to have good customers like you since 1989. Trust a company that has a proven track record of good service, selling top quality equipment. Do yourself a favor. Make sure the company you trust with your water is a licensed contractor and has ethical business practices. Check them out yourself. If a highly paid celebrity tells you to use a company, that may be a reason not to. The main reason for doing this ad is to warn you about false claims being made by some companies about no salt water softening. They don't give you soft water, and there is no test to prove they work, per the National Water Quality Association. True soft water makes you feel clean and can be tested as soft. Call Affordable Water for an honest quote. 262-0197. That's 262-0197. License number W32.
If you're looking to propose or just looking to get her something to show her how much you love her,
then you're in luck because Beard's biggest sale of the year has been held over.
Right now at Beard's Jewelry, take advantage of 5 years zero-interest financing.
That's right. 5 years zero-interest financing. Take advantage of the rock-bottom prices Beard's is known for and spread your payment out over 60 months.
How about a 2-carat GIA certified diamond with a Tacori or Veragio setting for $12,000? You pay just $200 a month.
It's the best deal of the year, and it's been extended. Like a $1,500 pair of diamond studs, you pay just $25 a month.
Take advantage of this offer of a lifetime
and get her that piece of jewelry she's been dreaming about, and spread your payments out over 60 months.
Beard's Jewelry, located at the St. John's Town Center.
But hurry, this unprecedented offer will end soon. Find out more at beardsdiamonds.com. See the difference. Save thousands.
Hi, everybody. It's Ed Dean, your morning radio host right here on FM 101.1, AM 600 WBOB. As you know, we cover all the national, local, and state issues as well, whether it pertains to border walls, tax cuts, the economy, removing Confederate monuments. We cover all of that. Plus, every morning you can win Ed Dean's money. Mornings from 6 to 9, it's Ed Dean right here on FM 101.1, AM 600. This is The Answer, WBOB.
Stuck in traffic? WBOB has The Answer.
Smooth driving around town except for the construction. And watch out, Hart Bridge is closed today for that construction. Going to be rainy all weekend. 70% chance of showers all day today. 90% chance for tomorrow. Looking for high today, low 80s, low tonight, about 74. And high tomorrow, are you ready? 78. Fall is in the air. 82 at WBOB. AM 600, The Answer.
Let's return to Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Hey, Howard.
Hey, what?
I see blue skies out the window.
Well, that's good because I'm doing an open house today.
You
and even
are.
though you say if it looks good in rain, it's...
You're going to love it in the sunshine.
I want people to come when it's sunshine.
Well, I think they should come in the rain.
Okay.
So you and I see that so different.
I
If they come in the rain,
great-
now we know if the roof is leaking, if it floods. I mean, I like the rain. I really do.
Well, the house that I'm going to be at has a brand new roof.
Yes,
So
it does.
I sure
like
hope
a
that
month
doesn't
old.
leak.
Yes. No, it won't
So-
leak. You'll be just fine. Just fine.
Hey, we got Greg Harris on the show, the president of Watson Title Services of
Yes.
Northeast Florida. And I want to point something out to everyone.
What?
Now, you and I are associated with Watson Realty, of course, right?
Yes, we are. We love Mr. Watson and Watson Realty, you bet.
And although Watson Realty does more closings, has more business than the next two realty companies combined, I want to point out that Watson Title Services will do closings for any realty sale. Doesn't have to be associated with a Watson Realty closing, or even people that do for sales by owners, right?
Absolutely. Last month we did a half dozen for sale by owners, and we did a little over 20 non-Watson listings that we closed. We'll close with anybody. Everybody gets treated the same. You don't have to have a Watson name tag.
Okay.
We'll hug you just as much, I promise.
Okay. One of the questions that we get from a lot of our customers all the time is, you were talking before the break about title searches. So if you do a title search and you do all this research and you go back 30 years to see who may have ownership, you do that title search of the county records, you do all that. Why do you have to have an insurance policy on top of that?
That's a great question, because it kind of gives an opportunity to explain. It's really all part of the same package. You would be ashamed to pay for all the man hours and the research that would go in to getting a 30-year marketable title, and then not have anything to cover you for the fact that we are imperfect beings in a fallen world. There's forgery that takes place out there. There's fraud. People, whether it's at the county or whether it's anywhere between the county and the closing table, somebody can make a mistake. We've actually had a customer that we've closed over a dozen of their properties, and it wasn't until property number 6 that we found out that there was a lien against them, because the person who entered it into the database took the 2 consonants in the middle of the company's name and typed them in wrong. And at our underwriter, they had a new employee who made the same mistake. And lo and behold, something showed up that wasn't there before. It only took a couple $100s to clear it up, but that is something next time it was sold could have come up. And what if that wasn't a $175 lien? That was a $175,000 lien.
Yeah, it would have been a problem.
Yeah, it wasn't a title claim, because that's the type of thing you just stroke a check and fix.
Right.
Okay.
But I don't know about you, but I don't have the ability to stroke a $175,000 check tomorrow. That would be a title claim. So those things come up, and so that insurance policy that comes as a byproduct of having that 30-year marketable title, that'll protect you for as long as you own the home. It's a one-time payment at closing, and when you release your mortal coil and go to your just reward, your heirs also get that insurance policy. So if the good Lord calls Greg home, and I give it to my daughter Olivia, and as long as she owns that property, she'll be protected if when she sells a property, anything comes up that was missed, or there's some missing heir out there that has a claim on the property as well that should have been caught when we purchased the property.
And of course, heirs are not even shown on a deed.
Correct.
Right.
So that's an interesting one.
Right.
Okay. So that's a reason that title insurance goes on, and it only goes off for 30. So when you do a title search, you only go back 30 years.
Occasionally, we'll go back further if we need to. For
Okay.
instance, we had a property a few years ago in St. Augustine that really hadn't been sold because it had just been handed from family member to family member since 1915. And
Wow.
lo and behold, and obviously nobody was alive since 1915. A mistake was made when it was closed in 1915. Part of the property description was not defined very well.
Okay.
And that was a suit to quiet title that cost a couple $1,000s and took a couple months to fix, but it was fixed.
Interesting.
But yeah, that was one of those things that you never know what's gonna pop up.
Well, I heard of another one many years ago where someone sold a property to another person for X amount of dollars, I don't remember, and wrote up their own deed, which you can do. They gave it to the other person. That other person never filed it with the county. Now, is that a valid sale? Well, it is a valid sale. But when you do a title search, the only thing that you can search is the county records.
Right.
So it was a valid sale, but that person who has that new deed can come along a few years later and say, hey, I bought that property. I have a valid deed.
And that is, I mean, it's not frequent, but that's the type of thing that can happen. And like all insurance, it gives you that peace of mind where for most people, the largest investment they're ever going to make in their life, the place they call home, the place they raise their kid, nobody wants to wake up one Saturday morning to go get the newspaper and find somebody knocking on their door saying, my customer owns 30% of your home. And then have nobody to call to say, what's going on here? If you have a title policy, you don't have to talk to that individual at all. You just find out, okay, here's the file for the home. Okay, I closed with Watson Title, going to give them a call. Hey, there's some guy wearing a tie on my front doorstep saying he owns 30% of my property. So I give him our contact information, and we'll deal with it, and it's taken care of.
Yeah, there's an interesting situation we're going to talk a story about in the next couple of weeks about, and it depends on the state, but when squatters go and take over a property and how long a squatter lives there can actually declare themselves the owner of a property.
Right.
So particularly in Georgia, where Georgia has different rules than here in Florida. So if you own property in another state and you haven't gone to that property in a particular period of time, you need to go check it out and see if someone is living in that property, because ownership can actually accrue to that person that goes and lives in there. I don't know if you've ever run into that.
We haven't run into it, but we have heard of it. It's the mythical swamp creature. It's out there, though. It's actually real. You've seen the footprints. I haven't seen it myself, but I know people who have. That's another thing that, if you don't get your tax bill this year for Grandpa's property, you probably want to call the county and ask them, where's your tax bill? Not to say, I'll have to pay taxes this year. I didn't get the bill. There might be a reason why you didn't get the bill. It could also not just be squatters. It could be fraud, identity theft. Somebody sold your property. They pretended to be you. And that cannot be a pleasant experience.
Yeah, and it went to somebody else, and somebody else actually did pay the taxes, and now that property, perhaps somebody believes that they bought it, and somebody's living there.
Yeah, but you do bring up a good point. It's not apocryphal. It's true. You go by to visit your 140 acres used to be cropland that you now have in planted pines, and all of a sudden there's a power pole going into the middle of your planted pines. You might want to go down a dirt road and see if it's a single or a double wide.
You always have such great stories to tell.
You do.
We really enjoy you being on the show. And by the way, we do have another segment coming up, but we want to remind people that if you have a question about your particular property or situation, call
He's really
in.
Smart.
Angela, what's that number?
222-TALK. TALK, which is 8255, and that's area code 904.
Yeah, Greg will be happy to answer those questions as he normally does. And we want to tell everybody about what Greg's phone number is at Watson Title. So, Greg, what is your number?
They can reach us at 461-3220. That'll give you a Lexus up at the front desk, and you can just ask for me, Greg Harris, if you'd like, and we'll be off and running.
Yeah, he's got a big staff there to help people. You've got what are the different types of people that you have there? What are the different roles of all the people that?
All the players in the game. Boy, I could spend an hour just talking about that. But we
go ahead. We got a minute.
Well, we got Alexis at the front desk, my operations manager Connie. We have our processor closer teams that work together, and we also have in about half of the Watson Realty office, we have our office liaisons that a lot of our buyers and sellers meet right when they sign that contract, and we take care of them from the beginning all the way to the closing with our settlement agents.
So it's not one or two people. This is a big staff of people that handle hundreds of closings a month.
Oh yeah, we've been really proud of the team this year. Depending on where you draw the line, about 1,850 closings so far this year.
Wow, nice.
That's a lot of closings. You guys know what you're doing to handle that many. All right, we're going to be back after the break for the fourth segment of the show. So again, call in with your questions at 222-8255. Stay with us, everybody. Call Greg with your questions, and we will be right back. Good morning, WBOB listeners. It's your realtor on the radio, Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. Angela and I want to thank you for tuning in with us for our 5th year now. It's been such a great pleasure to be on the radio with you, giving you advice on buying and selling, as well as answering your questions on the air. Thank you so much for the trust that you have in us as professional, experienced realtors with over 20 years of combined experience. We want you to know that when it's time to sell your home, we want to be your realtor. We will focus on your home, your family, and your time frame. Our team will customize a marketing plan to give you the best exposure to get you the best price and have the best selling experience possible. Whether it's a condo or a house, a short sale or a regular sale, a $200,000 home or a mansion, you will get the same great service. Call us at 421-7950 and join the multitudes of others that have experienced the Angela and Howard team advantage. There's finally a mortgage lender in Jacksonville that sees financing differently. With 20 years experience, CMG Financial understands that the most important purchase in your life, your home, deserves the right mortgage. Tim McConnell at CMG Financial will work to customize the best financing option for you. Angela and I recommend CMG Financial to all our customers. Give Tim a call at 528-2103. That's 528-2103. CMG Financial is a registered trade name of CMG Mortgage, Inc., NMLS number 1820, and licensed as a mortgage lender servicer by the Office of Financial Regulation, number MLD 375, individual MLS number 181046. One of the most critical parts of buying or selling your home is the very last process. That's the closing process. Angela and I recommend Watson Title Services. They have the experience to handle any issue that can come up, and there is never an upfront fee to the seller. Whether you are using a realtor with the sale of your home or not, always ask for Watson Title Service to handle your closing. We do. Call them at 461-3220. That's Watson Title Services.
Angela Walker and Howard Vergalis of Watson Realty Corp. not only come to you every Saturday morning, but they would also like to work with you when you need them the most. That is, when you need to buy or sell a home. They pride themselves in giving you their very best effort every day and in every way. There are many realtors in the First Coast to choose from. Let them show you the Howard and Angela team advantage. Call them at 421-7950 or email them at realestateradio@yahoo.com. This segment of Real Estate Radio with Angela and Howard is brought to you by Watson Title Services of Northeast Florida. For answers to your North Florida real estate questions, call into the show at 222-TALK. That's 222-8255.
Hey, everybody. We are back for our last segment. We're here with Greg Harris of Watson Title. Feel free to call in and ask him any questions, but you only have about 12 minutes to do that. Our number is 222-8255, and that's area code 904. One of the things that we were talking about during the break was estoppels.
Estoppel. That's a fancy legal term.
Yes.
It means stop.
Means stop. How simple is that?
But what kind of stoppage are we talking about, Greg?
Yeah, estoppel is one of those words. It's like, does it end in L-E or E-L? I'm not sure. I'll go ahead and admit I make that mistake now and then. But it's a receipt. It's a receipt from your homeowners association saying, hey, Mr. Seller, you're going to sell your house on the 15th of the month. If so, here is your balance that we need to be paid for, and also any type of special assessments that there might be, and we will not put a lien on the property. So you, Mr. Buyer, when you get your new home, you're not going to get to know your homeowner association because we have a lien against you. That's what it is. Now, the funny thing, not funny, but interesting thing about estoppel letters is because they're time sensitive, they're only good for a certain length of time. And thank goodness the state of Florida recently has tightened things up in the estoppel letter and homeowner association world. So the prices are a little fairer and the timeline's a little fairer for everybody. So you don't pay twice for the same thing, but it makes sure that the homeowner, the buyer, coming in doesn't have to be responsible for the previous homeowners, homeowner association's dues and assessments, which can be significant. You can have a statement. You can see this out in some of the luxury properties out at the beach, where your statement may say the balance is $2,000, but the estoppel letter comes back, and we had one that come back for over $31,000.
Ouch!
Because the previous homeowner never paid their assessment.
Some of those beachfront condos are $2,000 a month. Oh yeah,
it'll leave a mark. So you want to wait for that estoppel letter. But I will say the last few years we have seen an improvement on performance, but they don't show up overnight. It's like anything else. You have to call them, and some have professional companies. Some just has a resident of the condo association in apartment 14B that does the estoppel letters. It can take a few days for it to show up, and there is a cost involved, a couple $100 usually, plus or minus.
And who pays for that, the buyer or the seller?
Well,
generally
speaking, I would look at the contract.
Okay,
I would look
that
at
was
the
a great answer. So, Angela, what's usual and customary here?
Usual and customary is that the seller pays because the seller's notifying the HOA that they're moving.
Okay.
So it's part of them providing all the information they need to a buyer to say, hey, this is everything I know about my property. Here's my survey. They pay for the survey. Here's the title. They pay for the title search. Here's the title insurance. They're going to pay for the owner's policy of the title insurance. It's all part of due diligence of a seller, getting rid of his property. So part of that is also communicating with the HOA to make sure that HOA can demonstrate that this seller doesn't owe them any more money. Or if they do, what is that amount of money? So it is a seller incurred expense, usual and customary here.
Yes. Now the balance out to that is that sometimes the buyer has to set themselves up with the HOA, and there may be a separate fee that the HOA
there's always is, which
charges
is called a
them.
Transfer fee. That's for the buyer to pay.
And we're also seeing in this market a lot. I said it depends because I had a conversation early on this week. There are some neighborhoods that people wait for years to move into, and when a good house comes on, you barely got the sign in the yard. You got 3 phone calls. People write contracts, and especially in today's market, buyers say, "I'll pay all the seller's closing costs," without knowing what they are.
Yes.
And so you got to. What is this? What is this? Yes, that is usually a seller cost, but you said you were going to pay it in the contract. So look at your contract. I'm looking at it right here. So that especially in this type of market, people think or have a false impression about what a seller pays, what a buyer pays. If you offer to pay all of somebody's closing costs, then you're paying all of their closing costs.
Well, you know what? I do that a lot as a negotiating strategy with cash purchases because it can allow the seller to accept a lesser sales price if somebody's paying all their closing costs. And so, as we know, taxes are generated from sales price. So it's a good strategy with a cash situation to have the buyer pay all the seller's expenses and keep that price down.
Absolutely.
So it all works out.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. You know what else we were going to talk about? About does the title insurance cover the mortgage company or the owner?
Or
How
both.
does that work?
It's funny. This is Watson Realty has a success school for new realtors where we go through and have a series of people that help train them to get them up to speed as they get into the real estate business. And I taught a class yesterday on the pitfalls on the way to the closing table. And one of the things that I do is I describe the difference between an owner's policy and a lender policy. And the lender policy sometimes is called the loan policy or the mortgage policy, whatever. But the words mean things on who do they cover. An owner's title policy covers the owner's interest,
the buyer,
and protects protects the buyer for as long as they live, and if they give the property to their heirs, as long as their heirs have that property. A loan policy doesn't protect the homeowner for any type of title claim. Lenders will require you to get a lender policy to protect their interest in the property. So if you have a $200,000 house with a $175,000 mortgage, that lender wants to make sure that they have that equity available to cover their $175,000 of lending. So they're going to acquire a loan policy. So the loan policy is for the amount of the loan, and then as you pay that loan off, the value of that policy that, again, protects the lender, not the homeowner, eventually will decrease into the point when the mortgages have paid off. There's no longer a loan policy. And we will issue both policies at the same time, the owner's policy that protects the owner, the lender policy that protects the interest of the lender. We'll issue them at the same time simultaneously. So you don't pay full price for the owner's policy and full price for the loan policy. We'll issue the lower value of the two properties, which is usually the lender policy, for a flat fee of, for us at least, it's $175 for both policies. That's what we call simultaneous issue. Confuses people a lot of time. I talk to people on the phone. Sometimes I diagram it for them, but that's the two types of policies.
Well, it makes sense because you've done all the title search work, so the title's done, right? So
Exactly.
Your commitment is the same to each person. It's just in the amount of the value that they have at stake in the property.
And if there's ever a claim down the road, you have to have legally take care of two different parties who have an interest by just once.
Yeah.
But it does nice to have that simultaneous issue.
Well, it's kind of interesting that the owner gets more insurance than the lender, when usually it's the lender who has more money in the deal than the owner,
exactly.
right?
Because at the end of the day, though, the assumption is that homeowner is going to have 100% of that property when they pay off the mortgage, and it'll cover them for the rest of their life.
In theory.
Well, Greg,
never
you've
happens.
given us so much great information, as usual, when you come on the show, and we love having you. You've been our longest sponsor on the show for almost 6 years now. We really appreciate that.
It's been my honor.
And to our listeners, when you want to get in contact with Greg or with anyone at Watson Title Services, the number is 461-3220. 461-3220. If you forget that, you can go onto our website. That's AngelaandHoward.com. And Watson Title's website is
WatsonTitle.net.
WatsonTitle.net. All right. Hey, it's time we got to talk about two hot deals of the day because we have some open houses today. I'm going to be at one. And the one I'm going to be on, thank you for that music. That was a quick version of Hot Deal of the Day. I'm going to be at one in Eagle Harbor. It's on Harbor Lake. It's a lakefront home, 5 bedrooms, 3.5 bath, plus an office. That office could be turned into a 6-bedroom because it already has a closet. It's 2,900 square feet. 10-foot ceilings. It was built in 99, but almost everything in it has been upgraded. The air conditioner, the roof, the bathrooms, the flooring, the kitchen, soapstone countertops. This place is absolutely gorgeous. Even has its own fish pond, a slate patio. $375,000. It's open today from noon to 2. Also on Wolf Avenue in the Avondale area, built in 1925 but updated. It's $215,000. 1215 Wolf. All right.
And that's going to be open from 12 to 2.
Also from 12 to 2. Our associate Rob is going to be there, back from England, where he played in the drum line for the Jaguars. Folks, Angela and I love living here in Northeast Florida. You need a professional on your side, whether you are buying or selling the most important financial transaction of your life. Angela and I are here to help you. Have a blessed day. We're going to be back with you next week. Call me at 687-8161. Call Angela at 465-3845. The Van Weezer here live, as they usually are, to tell you what's going on in the financial sector. Have a great week. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next week.